Our core member person, Siddharth, is going to talk about that. So handing over to him as the last but not the least element to speak on this platform. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू सो मच तक्षक। इस इवेंट के आदरणीय वक्तागण और सभी अटेंडीज को अंबेडकर इंटरनेशनल सेंटर के ओर से जय भीम, जय भारत और नमो बुद्धाय। To our esteemed speakers and all attendees, sincere Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat and Namo Buddhaya from Ambedkar International Center, which I'm going to continue to refer as AIC, as you have all already heard it being referred as. It is an honor to conclude this session and present what is a vote of thanks, but not really. And I digress from this vote of thanks because what I want to share this is more as a call to action than a standard vote of thanks. You may define my concluding speech what you may, but I firmly believe that a call to action is the only way to end this event, especially after these great speakers that we have heard. It is also the right way to honor our great leaders who have laid their lives for this cause of freedom and human dignity. It is also the need of the hour, very aptly expressed by the most recent speaker, Amina. This call to action is no different than what Buddha and Dr. Ambedkar were called to during their own times. And that call to action is what Ambedkar International Center is answering today. This call to action is very a simple one. It can be summarized in the great advice given to us by Dr. Ambedkar: educate, agitate, organize. And I'm going to take what AIC is doing here in these three spaces through my next few minutes of my speech. We at AIC firmly believe that educate is the bedrock of our movement. There is a reason it is listed as the first of the three advices. We believe in the need to know our narrative, a Bahujan narrative, in order to build a strong future for Bahujans. This event, which you have all attended today and have graciously spent your time this Saturday morning or Saturday evening, depending on where you are, is one such event. And as Takshak just shared, we're not going to go to sleep after this event concludes. We are going to have more such events on an ongoing basis to help us learn about our Bahujan history. Because as we know, and also not just Bahujan history, but also see contemporary events through a Bahujan lens. Unless our scholars like Professor Vivek Kumar, Dr. Mungekar, Dr. Suresh Mane, and I'm missing somebody, right? And Professor Kancha Ilaiah Shepherd have put our contemporary events in the context of a Bahujan narrative, we are missing that context. Many of us do, because not everyone has the same in-depth knowledge as some of these scholars have who spend their time on this. And through their lens, we learn as to how things affect our current events affect our community. So I can't thank our speakers enough for bringing this awareness to us. Your time and effort today is very much appreciated. I also want to share that educate as an advice has two sides to it, or two parts to it. The first part is to educate ourselves, and this is what we have done at this event. The second part is educating the rest of the world about what we have learned. And achieving this objective is one of our goals for AIC, to preach, to teach America in this context and the rest of the world as to what Indian narrative means, the multidimensional Indian narrative, which is not a monolithic Brahmanical version of India. And that's at AIC, we want to achieve it in the simplest way by taking lessons from what Buddha did to do this. The first thing Buddha did to do this was he took his message to the people. There were many a preacher around his time who sat in the shady forest groves and let people come to them. But Buddha did not do that. He went to people. He traveled and taught his sermon everywhere where he could meet people. AIC is going to do the same thing. We are going to reach out and teach people. The second thing that Buddha did was he taught his message in the language that was understood by the people. AIC is going to do the same thing. In American context, we are going to boil our concepts of Bahujan narrative and Bahujan history in terms that Americans understand, and AIC is going to take those concepts to American society. We want to do this by engaging Americans at all levels. Engage them as friends, neighbors, colleges if you're studying there, your companies if you're working there, and also in your local governing bodies and Congress, all the way up to Supreme Court. We don't want to leave no stone unturned, and that's what AIC's mission is. More of these projects and campaigns on this will be shared on our website and also through our social media, so please get on our WhatsApp and also follow us on Twitter. That's on the educate part of it. The next advice, as we know, is agitate. And this is a very interesting one. Sakshak, in his brief speech about AIC, did mention that, if I may paraphrase, and I'm probably going to quote it in my personal experience, that we are tired of being the tail that gets wagged. Let me elaborate. When atrocities happen, discriminatory laws get passed, and courts make unconstitutional judgments back in India, our heartstrings get tugged, we get emotional. I don't want to dismiss those emotions we feel, nor do I want to deny the purpose and need for protests that we do and international outcry when these happens. But I am tired of being the tail that gets wagged. I want to put our Ambedkar Society, International Ambedkar Society, in a position where we act, we bring issues to the forefront on a platform that we build, on topics that we want to talk about and at times that we seem best for our community, and make Indian government sit up and listen to us. Let them run the PR campaign as to why their dubious discriminatory law is the right one or not, and then recant it. That's how AIC wants to take this forward as an agitation, building an agitation platform and agitating on our terms and at our time for issues that are most effective for our community. To this effect, I already see just the first advice of educating Americans as part of agitation. Because remember, agitation is as much in the mind, an internal aspect, as it is external, being out on the strand and the streets, holding posters and teaching people of an atrocity or bringing attention to an atrocity back in India. So education, I think, is still important, and it just segues into agitation in the American context. AIC is also looking forward to partnering with different organizations, civil liberties union organizations and others like Black Lives Matter or ACLU and others. Learn from them. How do they agitate on their platform rather than just be in a reactionary state? Because they do, in American context, those organizations have definitely evolved a little bit more than we have. So it is no harm in going and reaching out to them and getting advice and learning what to do. So AIC is willing to do that. And perhaps in a few years, why not we have a march against caste oppression? It is not a reaction for an atrocity that happens back in India or a discriminatory law. It is a day we decide and we go and say, this day we decided is World Anti-Caste Oppression Day, much like Slut Walk or Women's March. So look forward to seeing AIC work in this space also in terms of agitate as the advice. The last bit of advice that Baba Saheb has given us is organize. This is where I see AIC already in a leadership role. If I remember correctly, and I have been part of AIC since 2013 during its inception, AIC was formed with the idea of being that umbrella organization which can bring all Ambedkar organizations and be a platform, a hub for an international awareness around our issues, and be a platform from which other Ambedkar organizations and other Ambedkar activists can also use it as a springboard. We have also, as we have seen today, reached out to Indian American Muslims, also some Indian Muslims in Canada. I guess that's the right word to say. And we are building these alliances. And this is very important. And again, building alliances is very important. And we can take a couple of examples in Buddha's life and also in Dr. Ambedkar's life. Buddha was a great strategist. Once he realized that he has now been enlightened, he got his first state of agitation as to, do I preach this to the rest of the world or do I not preach it? And that agitation was clear, and he decided, I am going to be part of this world. Even as an ascetic, I can't get away from my worldly problems, so I am going to go into the world and preach my doctrine. But he did it very strategically. For example, when he found out that the Jatila brothers had a large following, he did not go try to make his own following. He realized that going to them and converting them would already give him 500 followers. Similarly, he put up stops in every city and kingly capitals, wherein he already realized that he could bring people into his fold and under his doctrine. So I think AIC is going to do the same thing, as it is going to collaborate with Indian Muslims, Sikhs, Ravidasyas, also possibly other South Asian organizations who are looking out towards a democratic agenda and hoping that democracy prevails back in India, a just and lawful society prevails back in India. So when we reach out during these, we also want to remind ourselves that we have had strong alliances in the past between SC, STs and Muslims, SC, STs and Sikhs, and also among OBCs. And we need to remind ourselves of such strong alliances and rejoice in the fact that such alliances can yield us results. Here in the US and also back in India, I'm glad to see that a lot of focus is being placed on this too by AIC. So I think this brings me to my conclusion. And for this, I want to read a few lines from this book, The Essence of Buddhism. Man needs must fight to make true peace his own. He needs must combat might with might, or might would rule alone. So this is a statement given by Buddha saying that if mighty people, strong people are complacent and indolent and are taken over by indolence, then might will rule alone, which is what we are seeing in terms of the rise of Hindutva or the saffronized regime back in India. Friends, I share all of this as a strategy that AIC is following, also to call you all to action. Wherever you are, and in whatever capacity you can, please follow this advice of Dr. Ambedkar. Educate, agitate, organize. And know that Ambedkar International Center is here to support you in any way to make Baba Saheb's vision of Prabuddha Bharat a reality. साथियों, इसी आशा और विश्वास के साथ आपने मेरी बात ध्यान से सुनी, इसके लिए आभार, धन्यवाद. Friends, with this hope and confidence that you will take forward this mission, I thank you all for attending this event and making it a grand success. On behalf of AIC, I wish you all a happy Dhamma Chakra Pravartan Din. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat, Namo Buddhaya.